You are watching WPTV, award-winning college television.
Welcome back to the desk. The Pioneer baseball team is midway through their season, and here to break down the latest from Jeff Albee's field is Daniel Karp, Bijan Pulley, Andrew Gavin, and Michael Milligan. Guys, the Pioneers went 2-5 down in Florida, where they won the first two parts of a 4-game winning streak. They started up north. Michael, take us through the Pioneer spring break.
All right, well, we're going to have some stats right up here for you right now. So what's happening here, we have a batting average of 265 versus the opponents at 362, a run scored of 44 for the Pioneers and 57 against opponents, 6.2 ERA for the Pioneers with a 5.19 for the opponents as well as 52 strikeouts to 90 against all opponents as well. So, I mean, they're having, it's a pretty, not bad stats right there, and I think hopefully things are going to go well.
Yeah, absolutely. Bijan, what is one positive takeaway from these 7 games?
I went with beating Ohio Northern University 11-0. This was a positive takeaway for me because after winning 8-4 against University of Wisconsin Superior, they followed that up with a dominating win. And at that point, getting their second win in a row in the tournament. Winning the first 2 games in that convincing fashion shows the sign of the great team they can be if they can consistently put it all together.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, what is your takeaway from these 7 games?
They kept the first few games close. They won the first 2 games, lost the third game in extras in 10 innings. And that's something to build off. They started off hot. They tried to keep that momentum going. They righted it through the third game. But then after those third games, everything, like the wheels fell off. Everything kept going down from there. And, 90 strikeouts is just, ugh.
Yeah, having a little bit of momentum is good, especially for this Pioneers baseball team. Daniel, what is your takeaway?
I'm going to talk about taking the number 9 ranked Wisconsin La Crosse into extra innings. It was a good game all around. The Pioneers had the lead. Unfortunately, they couldn't capitalize, and they ended up losing in extras. Ty Colby went 3 for 5 in that game. Sean McAllister went 2 for 3. Jose Marte was unbelievable in that game with 5 innings pitched. But it's something to take. You go into a ranked baseball team, and taking them into extra innings is pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% agree with you. Michael, close us out with this question.
I have it actually with them being the University of Wisconsin Superior. That's a cool name. So it's a really good pitching team. The pitchers actually they went against had a 1.88 ERA total right now, and just they did a really good job scoring runs against them, 8 runs in total. They absolutely kicked butt over there, and I think that was by far the best win they had.
Yeah, absolutely. But guys, the Pioneers opened up the NJAC season with a split against a highly improved TCNJ team, which is number 19, ranked 19th according to Division3Baseball.com. Michael, what stood out to you in these 2 games against TCNJ?
It was definitely driving in runs from scoring position, because that was by far the best part ever for this team. Because game 1, they only had 3 people left on base. Game 2, they had 4 people left on base. Yeah, I understand. The game 2, what happened there, they just weren't getting people on base to be run into, but nevertheless, for sure, game 1, they found it. When people were on base, they found a way to get them inside or back to home plate, and it was just a great time for them. Yeah,
it's always so crucial to drive in runners in scoring position. Bijan, I'll move it over to you. What stood out to you in those 2 games against TCNJ?
I went with Austin Jack. In those 2 games, he went to bat 6 times with 2 runs scored, 3 hits, and 4 runs batted in. Austin putting up these numbers against a great TCNJ team is really impressive, especially considering they played them back-to-back. And when that usually happens, a player doesn't usually play good in the second game, but Austin did, and he did the opposite, actually repeating his success from the first game.
Yeah, a name that I'm very familiar with. He did a phenomenal job down in Florida. Andy, I'll move it over to you. What stood out to you?
I'm going to say Jose Marte. It was an absolute masterclass, phenomenal. He went 4 innings in relief, only allowing 1 hit, 3 Ks. We saw what he did in Florida. We saw what he did the other day, going 4 shutout innings. I'm excited to see what he can do off that and a transfer from Bergen.
Yep, I am 100% with you. Daniel, close this out.
Talk about Ian Metzger, the ace pitcher of this Pioneers pitching staff. I said it the other day on Sports Pro. He's a dog. But 5 innings pitched, 6 runs, 1 earned. He's been awesome this whole year. He's got a nice 2-seamer. Is getting limited contact, getting a lot of ground balls. So we're going to look forward to Ian Metzger. Keep it going. He kept this game 2-0 for the majority of his outing, which allowed the Pioneers to come back and eventually win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always great to have some dominance from your ace, Ian Metzger, on the hill. But guys, the NJAC is ranked is a highly respectable conference in all Division III sports. The NJAC features a lot of top 25 teams every year, with TCNJ, Montclair, Kane, Rowan being some of those teams. Daniel, what is a potential roadblock for the Pioneers to make an NJAC run?
This is a pretty obvious one. It's going to be that the fact that they strike out too much. Andy mentioned 90 times in Florida within 7 games. That's not good. The team is about striking out about 12 times per 9 innings, which is not good at all. 16 strikeouts against TCNJ, 17 in the second game. You got to limit the strikeouts. Coop and I said on the call against SUNY Cobblesville, put the ball in play and good things will happen. We saw a bunch of fly balls that ended up making errors, which allowed the Pioneers to score 14 runs in that game eventually. So just put the ball in play. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
We reiterate this over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. We said that a ton. Putting the ball in play is key. Michael, what's your takeaway?
My biggest takeaway is their fielding errors. They really need to clean up that, especially within the infield. I get it, it's turf. It's not the greatest thing to be playing on, so the ball is going to bounce much harder, within the infield before it gets to the outfield. So I think they got to clean up on those errors. They've had 32 errors. That's like more than 1 per game. So, I mean, they just got to work on that. They do that, then they'll be able to have hopefully a much smoother time for the rest of the season.
Yep, cleaning up errors is crucial. Bijan, what's your roadblock?
I went with not getting enough runs batted in after Ty Kobelaski was. I hope I didn't butcher his name. No. I'm so sorry, Tom.
Kobolakowicz.
There you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, Tom.
Ty.
You can DM me angry later. But Tom Radigan, they both have 14 runs batted in, and then Austin Jack with 13 runs batted in. There is a drop-off. Only Tyler Rubin and Giovanni Arestia are the only players with double-digit runs batted in, with each of them having 10. In order for the Pioneers to make a run in a very tough NJAC conference, as we spoke of, you need players to bring more into that category.
Yep. Andy finishes off for this question.
I'm going to say they're not working the counts consistently, and that leads to strikeouts. If you're not working the counts, you're not going to expand your zone. You got to expand your zone. You got to do something. You got to force the pitcher to make a mistake in that at bat. And we've seen them. They have about 75 baseball balls this season. That's a decent amount, but that number can definitely be inflated, especially if you work the count. You wait for your pitch. You be so selective. And really, we've seen them jump on the first few pitches and strike out a lot, trying to get their own pitch.
Yep, absolutely. Guys, as I mentioned before, the Pioneer baseball season is halfway through with 19 games played and 19 games left to go, pending on the playoffs. Bijan, take us through the Pioneer baseball season so far.
The season has been disappointing to what they expected, but there's still some hope, and I think they can still put some games together. For me, I think the grade is a C. I don't know if that's going to be consensus, but I believe they've shown glimpses of how great of a team they can be, but as I mentioned in the first question, they haven't been able to consistently put it together on a game-to-game basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, how would you grade the Pioneers baseball season so far?
C-, D+. I mean, hey, I'm not being harsh. They're 6-14. They're 1-2 in the conference right now. They have NJAC play. They're in the heart of things now. I mean, we no longer can say, oh, it's all right. It's not NJAC play yet. It's not NJAC play yet. They're in NJAC play. They're playing Montclair. They lost yesterday. They're playing them today at 3:30. We're on the call. They need to win this game. They need to do something. They need to change the story and the narrative of this season.
Indubitably.
Yeah, that's a good word, Michael. Indubitably. Andy, Daniel, I'll move it over to you. How would you grade the Pioneer baseball season?
I'm gonna have to agree around that C to D range. I mean, listen, this Pioneer team has had lower expectations in the past years. So, you're developing a guy like Ty Kobelakiewicz, who's only a freshman. He could play both corner infield. So, kudos to Coach Lauderhan and the coaching staff over there being able to develop a guy like him. 362 right now with 2 home runs. When he's a senior, this guy could be popping off for around a 500 average, could be hitting over 10 home runs a season. So, there's a lot of good takeaways to take away from this season. And NJAC play is still going on. Baseball's a game where anything can happen. So, this is just midterm. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's midterm season. But Michael, how would you grade this Pioneer season so far?
I got to go with a C. I mean, look, I get it. It's not the start you want, but it's something that you can still improve on. String together some wins. And they have strung together some wins. You had a 4-game winning streak at one point. That's not something to go away upset about. But he also did split TCNJ, who we mentioned before was a very highly touted team. So I think if you're going to, do something here, I mean, C is about where I'm going to put them right now. They're 6-14, I think we mentioned before. They're not doing the greatest, but they're not doing the worst, I think.
Yeah, Bijan, you obviously said before you said the grade was a C, but what else did you see from the midterm season?
I just see, I keep hammering home the word inconsistency because this team is not a bad team. It's just they haven't consistently put that together. And the great teams, especially in this tough NJAC conference, do that on a consistent basis. In order to match that, you have to do that as well.
Yep, absolutely. That is all we have for WP Baseball. But let's move over to the professional diamond for the start of the 2024 MLB season. Stick with us on WP TV.